Good evening, I'm Robin Dwyer. This is ITV News London. The number of people reporting being a victim of a hate crime has gone up since the country voted to leave the EU. Community groups in the capital say they're in need of reassurance. Luke Hanrahan reports.
The leaders of the Brexit campaign have engendered an atmosphere where some people believe it is open season now for racism and xenophobia.
It was raised again and again this afternoon in Parliament. There have been increased instances of hate crime since the result of the EU referendum came through, including the attack on a Polish cultural centre in West London. The offensive language has since been erased, but for the chairman, Joanna Mlodzinska, the damage has been done.
People's fears are coming to the surface, and I think we need some reassurance. The Polish community needs reassurance.
Communities across London reporting a spike in vile racist attacks.
Sadly, we are seeing behaviour which is the exact opposite of decent. Racial attacks, bullying of children in schools, people feeling ill at ease, spreading of hate and graffiti which abuses people. This is not on in British society.
Here in Hounslow, a borough where 49% voted to leave the EU, the well-established Muslim community also feels threatened.
Since then, it has changed very, very fast. And it has shocked me how come people are coming and reporting that they are feeling very, very unsafe.
London communities hopeful that this is just a temporary increase in hate crime. Luke Hanrahan, ITV News.
The Brexit result is, of course, causing political turmoil too. And 9 months since Islington MP Jeremy Corbyn became Labour leader, he's facing the most sustained attack yet from Labour MPs who want him to step down. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
Good morning, everybody. Nice. Very nice to see you.
Jeremy Corbyn's had bad days before, but not like this. As he left his Islington home, he must have been wondering, could it get any worse? The answer was yes. The Labour leader avoided the battery of makeshift TV studios at Westminster and instead headed straight for his office. Away from the gaze of the cameras, he attempted to rebuild his shadow cabinet in the face of a growing rebellion. Throughout the day, Mr Corbyn's troubles grew with each passing hour. By lunchtime, more than 30 shadow ministers had abandoned ship. Mr Corbyn finally broke cover for today's emergency statement on the referendum. But even the swearing in of Labour's new Tooting MP, Rosanna Allen Khan, was of little comfort. Just an opportunity for the Prime Minister to twist the knife.
Let me welcome the new member for Tooting to her place. I think I'd advise her to keep her mobile phone on. She might be in the shadow cabinet by the end of the day. And I thought I was having a bad day.
In his first comment since the start of the attempted coup, Mr Corbyn turned on his rebels.
The country will thank neither the benches in front of me nor those behind for indulging in internal factioning manoeuvring at this time. We have...
The jeers included shouts of resign. It wasn't clear from which side, but it's a sentiment echoed by many of Mr Corbyn's Labour colleagues.
Jeremy Corbyn has to appreciate the Labour Party is bigger than any one person. We're a political party, not a cult, and it's time for him to step aside and allow fresh leadership.
251,000.
It's less than 10 months since an overwhelming majority of party members chose the Islington North MP to replace Ed Miliband as Labour leader. Many of Mr Corbyn's parliamentary colleagues were horrified, but they bided their time. The referendum result was the trigger they were waiting for to launch their attempt to topple him. Simon Harris, ITV News, Westminster.
The Tottenham MP David Lammy has told ITV News that Parliament needs to get real and block Britain's exit from the European Union. It follows a statement released by the Labour MP over the weekend where he called on ministers to stop the madness, pointing out that the referendum is technically non-binding. Critics have called his comments anti-democratic, but today he renewed his calls for last week's result to be ignored.
We have a sovereign parliament for very good reasons. We do not have a plebiscite. We do not have diktat by a mob. Parliament will have to vote on whether we exit. I'm very clear, I'm not voting to exit, and there should certainly be a second referendum on the plan. What is the plan today? There is none.
The mother of murdered schoolgirl Alice Gross told an inquest today she was shocked the prime suspect was able to come to Britain. Arnis Zalkans, who's thought to have killed Alice, had served time for murdering his wife in his native Latvia. Here's our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips.
They've waited almost 2 years for her inquest. Now they hope their many questions will finally be answered. The hearing in front of a jury began with details of the schoolgirl's murder. Alice Gross went missing from her home in Hanwell 2 years ago on August the 28th. Her body was found 5 weeks later after Scotland Yard conducted its biggest search since the July 7th bombings. The prime suspect was builder Arnis Zalkans, who served a prison sentence for murdering his wife in his native Latvia. He was found hanged days after Alice's body was found. The inquest was told the CPS would have charged him with her murder had he been alive. When Alice's mother addressed the hearing, she made an emotional speech where she expressed her concerns that a foreign killer was in the country. Alice's mother said she was grateful the coroner had ruled the inquest will be an Article 2 inquiry, which means it will look at whether failures by the government and the police actually contributed to the 14-year-old's death. She said, "We remain stunned that a foreign national with a conviction for murder was not monitored or even known about in any way. This has destroyed much of our faith in our country's ability to protect its citizens." She finished by telling the court how much the family remain devastated by the murder of the popular, lively teenager and want the authorities to ensure it is never allowed to happen again. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
A construction company has been fined more than £500,000 after 2 men died falling into a building site it ran. Monavon Construction pleaded guilty to the corporate manslaughter of Gavin Brewer, who was 32, and 34-year-old Stuart Meads. The men fell into a basement behind a hoarding in Camden in 2013. A shopkeeper was threatened with a broom by 2 teenagers stealing sweets and drinks from his shop in South London. CCTV footage shows one of the teenagers preparing to swing the makeshift weapon during the robbery on the Winstanley estate. Police say the boys demanded money from the till, but the shopkeeper refused. As many as 10,000 motorists were caught speeding on their way to work in London last year. New figures show the peak time for getting caught by a roadside camera was between 6 and 7 a.m. The highest number of fines were handed out in Ealing, followed by Hammersmith and Tower Hamlets. To get the figure where you live, go to our Facebook page. Just search on Facebook for ITV London. Finally, the art exhibition you can enjoy without even entering a gallery. Sculptures and installations sit alongside skyscrapers and city streets in London's latest display, as Ria Chatterjee explains.
It's like a treasure hunt, right in the heart of the city. Looking up to find art made from recycled material, commenting upon consumer waste, isn't the norm in these parts. Skyscrapers are, though.
Well, I think it brings a break for people. The partners, who are the big businesses of the city, want their staff to have something more than just the great buildings to look at, and they are all supporting us in putting the art in their open spaces.
Sculpture in the city is dubbed as a public art programme. 17 open-air sculptures are dotted across the square mile.
A lot of the city's visual pollution. Don't get me wrong, I love architecture, but you know, the traffic, the noise, the bad weather, the pavements, the daily grind. You know, it takes something to stand out, something which is not there on a continuous basis, to trigger a sense of interest.
Petrox Esti's digital piece uses footage from a NASA space probe. It captures the sun's movements over a 12-month period. Like all the pieces, it's meant to make people slow down and think about the unusual elements in familiar surroundings. Ria Chatterjee, ITV News.
James Wright has the weather now.
Good evening. A fine day on the whole today. Plenty of sunny spells. Unfortunately, it's all downhill through tomorrow with rain on the way. Tonight, we're going to see plenty of clear spells around and about. A little bit cooler in terms of how things feel. Temperatures down to about 11 Celsius. Then tomorrow morning should be a bright start pretty much everywhere. Won't be long, though, before cloud starts to build from the west. The best of the brightness holding on as long as possible further east. Then through the afternoon, everywhere cloudy. We start to see this rain building. Shouldn't be too heavy, and it should pass through at a reasonable pace. So we're not expecting any issues with flooding. In spite of the lack of sunshine, 20 Celsius won't feel too bad. And then once the rain clears, similar picture on Wednesday. After that, variable amounts of sunshine. Hopefully it won't be too wet. Night-night.
That's it from us, but don't forget you can look up what's been happening in the capital on our website itv.com/London. We're back on air tomorrow with updates in Good Morning Britain. But from the late team, good night.